Hey everybody, this is Wargamer Sean coming at you with the final installment of the Dark Angel Codex review. We're going to go over the formations, detachments today, and final thoughts. And this will be the last of our video, number 7, for the Dark Angels review. Let's first go over the Lion's Blade Strike Force. That basically has to have one core of the Battle Demi Company, which is similar to the Space Marine one. It can take a Company Master or Chaplain, 0-1 Command Squad, 0-1 Company Veteran Squads, 3 Tactical Squads, 1 Assault Squad, 1 Devastator Squad, 0-1 units of Dreadnoughts. Now, the difference here with this is that with the Devastator Squad in the Space Marines, you could take the Grav Centurion Devastator Squad, but you cannot with these guys. They don't have it. You can take up to 0-1 Command Choice, which is the Inner Circle, which is either Azrael, Belial, Samael, Company Master, Interrogator Chaplain, or Librarian. Now, there are other ways to get some of these other characters in these other formations here that are part of this strike force. I think the thing that people don't necessarily get is you can have, the normal in the rule book is a combined arms attachment, which is your kind of your old force organizational chart, but that doesn't really exist anymore. But you had to have 1 HQ, but you could have up to 2, and then you could have 2 troops minimum, but up to 6 troops, and then up to 0-3 fast attack, heavy, and elite, and then 1 fortification, 1 Lord of War. These detachments work differently since Necrons came out. These detachments are made up of multiple formations that are separate formations, but there's also things that aren't formations in here that that in this one there aren't, but in other codices like the Necron one, you could take a squad of flayed ones, or the Eldar could take their scouts, or a Wraith Knight, but that's not a formation. It was just kind of part of their detachment that could take 1 0 to like 11 if they wanted to. Beginning back to this, you have to take at least 1 Battle Demi Company. You can take 2 Demi Companies, and basically just like the Space Marine one, if you take a Chapter Master or Company Master, and then the other Demi Company, you take a Chaplain, you form a company. And if you do that, any unit that can take a Rhino or Razorback or Drop Pod as a designated transport may do so at no additional cost. Now, the one thing that they don't have either, that the Space Marines do, is they don't have objective secured. Now, the Space Marines one does, the Demi Company, or their Gladius Strike Force, but the Lion's Blade Strike Force doesn't have it. However, they have Supreme Fire Discipline, unless jinking all models in the formation of the Grim Resolve special rule, Fire Overwatch using their normal ballistic skill characteristic. So instead of their kind of core command trait is that they get to Overwatch in a 5 and a 6, but Supreme Fire Discipline, as long as you're not jinking, and you have all models that in the formation that have the Grim Resolve special rule get to Overwatch at normal ballistic skill. They're hitting on 3s. That's amazing. So that's kind of a good thing besides having objective secured. Let's go through some of the other formations, and we'll kind of go to the back and go over these special rules, because these are special things, but you can take. You have to take at least 1 Demi Company, and then you have to take 1 other thing besides the command squad that you can take 1 of. So, talked about the Demi Company. The Demi Company gets to, now if you're just taking the Demi Company as a formation instead of part of this strike force, if you're just taking it as a formation, they get to count their ballistic skill as 3, of 2 when firing Overwatch. So what skill is 3 instead of, okay, so normally Dark Angels get to fire Overwatch of ballistic skill 2 instead of normally 1, which everybody else gets to, but these guys get it at 3, so they're hitting on 4s instead. But like I said, if you're part of the strike force, you get it at normal ballistic skill, but if you're just taking the Battle Demi Company, you basically have a ballistic skill of 3. They do have objective secured. Also, I apologize. The Demi Company does have objectives secured. I apologize. I was wrong on that. So they do still have it because it's in their formation rules. I apologize. I was wrong on that. Anybody that's commented already that I did fix myself here. So that's their special rules. Deathwing Redemption Force. So this one has preferred enemy Chaos Space Marines. Deathwing Assault. All units in this formation must be placed in Deep Strike Reserve immediately after determining warlord traits. Make a secret note on which turn you would like the Deathwing Redemption Force to arrive, and it either is 2, 3, or 4. All units from the formation automatically revive via Deep Strike at the chosen turn. If this formation includes a Venerable Dreadnought embarked on a drop pod, the drop pod automatically arrives at the start of the chosen turn and ignores the normal rules for deploying drop pods. Take the fight to the enemy. Units from this formation can either shoot, then run, or run, then shoot in the shooting phase on the turn that they arrive via Deep Strike. So kind of like what the Grey Knights have. The only sucky thing is, aside from the Grey Knights, is they can't come in turn 1. So that really hurts them. You can't just play Deathwing by itself right now, because if you do that, you're going to auto lose the game. So you have to have something else going to start on the board, because these guys can't come in turn 1. So one model must be chosen from the following list: Company Master, Interrogator Chaplain, Librarian, or Belial. And then you have 2 to 5 Deathwing Terminator squads, 0 to 1 Deathwing Command Squad, 0 to 1 units of Deathwing Knights, 0 to 1 units of Venerable Dreadnoughts. If it is taken, the unit of the Venerable formation has to be given a drop pod so that it can destrike, basically. So Deathwing Strike Force, which I loved. It wasn't competitive in the last edition. Even in the end of 5th, it was pretty hard to be competitive with, but it was potentially doable. Just there's so much shooting now, but now it's even got more of a crutch because now you can't come in turn 1. I don't understand why they took that away from the one's army that, like, their specialty was, a third of it was Terminators. And they still have it with Grey Knights. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it's the way it is. The Raven Wing Attack Squadron, that has special rules of Scout. If the Raven Wing Land Raider or Raven Wing Landspeeder Vengeance from this formation scores 1 or more hits on an enemy unit in the shooting phase, then all models in this formation's Raven Wing Bike Squad or Raven Wing Attack Bike Squad add +1 to their ballistic skill characteristic when shooting at the same target for the rest of the phase. Summon the Deathwing. Friendly units composed entirely of models with Deathwing special rule do not scatter when they arrive via Deep Strike, so long as they are placed within 12 inches of a model from this formation, the Raven Wing Attack Squadron. For this to work, the model from this formation must have been on the battlefield at the start of the turn. So it's made up of 1 Raven Wing Bike Squadron or 1 Raven Wing Attack Bike Squad, and then 1 unit of Raven Wing Landspeeders or 1 Raven Wing Landspeeder Vengeance. So the unit with the Raven Wing Landspeeders may only include 1 model. So basically it's only 1 Landspeeder. Basically can go along with this squad. I think you'll see this one. I think it's a decent one. It's a nice little boost to ballistic skill for the bike shooting. The Raven Wing Support Squad. Now that one is 1 unit of Raven Wing Landspeeders. And then the unit of Raven Wing Landspeeders must include at least 3 models. So you have to have 3 models in this one. And then 1 Raven Wing Landspeeder Vengeance or 1 Raven Wing Dark Shroud. They have Grim Resolve special rule, Interceptor special rule, Strafing Run special rule. When an enemy unit declares a charge against a friendly unit with a Raven Wing special rule, models from this formation within 24 inches of that friendly unit can choose to fire Overwatch against the charging unit, even though vehicles cannot normally fire Overwatch. So they get to fire Overwatch, and because they have Grim Resolve, if they're part of the strike force, they're going to be firing at full ballistic skill. Now, if they're just taken as a formation, they're only hitting on 5s and 6s. All vehicles from this formation form a single vehicle squadron. However, the vehicle squadron counts as 2 separate units for purposes of calculating victory points if the unit is completely destroyed. I think this is a very good formation. I think you're going to see this a lot. I think this is going to be run a lot with bikes. The reason why I think it's going to be useful much is for the Dark Shroud, because you have the Dark Shroud, which if they themselves are within 6 inches of a bike unit, they prevent overwatch for the bike unit that's charging, especially the Black Knight. And they basically also allow things to fire overwatch, everything within 24 inches. Plus, it gets, because it's a Raven Wing, you get to reroll Jank. Well, the Dark Shroud has stealth on itself, so it's got a 3-up rerollable Jank, and it gives away shrouding, so anybody within 6 inches of it has a 2-up for their save. So a normal bike or land speeder is jinking at 4, but 2-up to that is a 2-up reroll. That's pretty sick. It's pretty gross. And that's just on anything that's with that. And unless you have ignore cover, that Dark Shroud is not going to die very easily. So I think it's pretty powerful. I think you're going to see that a lot. I don't think a lot of people have realized it yet, but I think people are going to run this soon enough. Ravenwing Silent Squadron. This is 2 Nephilim jet fighters and 1 Ravenwing Dark Talon. This capture run, when making a bombing run with a stasis bomb of this formation's Darkwing Duck. This formation's Ravenwing Dark Talon do not roll for scatter. The stasis bomb hits automatically. That's pretty nice. Furthermore, enemy models that suffer an unsaved wound from the stasis bomb must roll 2 dice and pick the highest when taking their initiative test to see if they are removed as casualties. In missions that use victory points to determine the winner, Slay the Warlord's secondary objective is worth D3 additional victory points when the controlling player at the end of the game, if the enemy warlord was removed as a casualty of the capture and run special rule. So basically the stasis bomb. Fighter escort, when making reserve rolls, make a single reserve roll for the entire formation, in which you can choose to re-roll. On a successful reserve roll, all units in the formation arrive via reserve. I think this is okay. Competitively, I don't think you're going to see it very much. I mean, it's good, and that stasis bomb is good, but it's a lot of points you're investing in those fighters and the bomber that I don't think are that super. So I don't think you're going to see it as often, in my opinion. The Hammer of Caliban is another one, and that's 1 Tech Marine, and then 1 unit chosen from the following list: Land Raider, Land Raider Crusader, Land Raider Redeemer, and 1 unit chosen from the following list: Predators, Whirlwinds, or Vindicators. This formation's unit of Predators, Whirlwinds, or Vindicators must include 3 models. They have Monster Hunter and Tank Hunter. Hammer of Heretics. The formation's Tech Marine must begin the game embarked upon this formation's Land Raider, the Land Raider Crusader, or Redeemer. Whilst Tech Marine from this formation is embarked on the transport, that vehicle's bliss skill is increased to 5. All vehicles in the formation must form a single vehicle squadron as described in the 40k rules. However, this vehicle squadron counts as 2 units for the purposes of calculating victory points. So I guess a Tech Marine doesn't count as a victory point for some reason. I don't see why he wouldn't, but in here that's what they're saying. And remember, you can take servitors with them too, so it's a big point investment. I don't think you're going to see this very often. You may potentially, if you want to use the Land Raider as, you have to have the Land Raider as part of the vehicle squadron, so it really isn't going to be moving away from the Predators, Whirlwinds, or Vindicators. In this case, I don't see you using the Whirlwinds as much because you get Monster Hunter and Tank Hunter, but with Strength 5, it's not necessarily that great. Although it would have Shred if you had 3 of them. I think the Predators and Vindicators are the better pick for this because Tank Hunter and Monster Hunter with these high strength guns are good, especially the las cannons for the Vindicator. But once again, it's a really expensive unit. So that is everything. My final thoughts on the Codex is I do think that GW kind of listened and kind of heard that Dark Angels hadn't been good for a long time, and they kind of gotten the short end of the stick on the codices. Maybe this is an indicator of what Chaos Space Marines, if they get their own codex, will be like. I have a feeling that maybe Demonkin might be the way of the future for Space Marines and Demons, but we'll see. I like the codex, and then I think Ravenwing is really good. I think you can have some Terminators with it, although I don't think most people are going to do that. I think that the Terminator, the Deathwing itself, is kind of dead because you kind of need somebody to help. And if you just have piddly stuff on the board and you're waiting for turn 2, your opponent might be able to table you and defeat you before your Terminators come in. And also, with just a sheer amount of DACA, most of the time just Terminators aren't going to cut the mustard really in this edition anymore. So I think Deathwing is, I hate to say it, kind of dead except for fun play, just because I don't think you're going to see it that much, especially in competitive play. I think Ravenwing is really good. I think you're going to see the Dark Knights or the Black Knights a lot, or even just the Ravenwing squads, the Ravenwing command squads. Samael is good this edition. He's pricey, but if you want that formation, right now that's the only one you can really run because he has the Ravenwing special rule. Until GW facts it where the other things can get it, he's the only one that you can pick for that formation. The Green Wing, I think, is still viable. I apologize, I got the objective secured thing wrong. They do have objective secured. It's a coin toss. If you're going to use, you want Centurion Devastators with the Grav Sense, then the regular Space Marines is the way to go. If you don't plan on running them, it honestly, I think I might be wrong. I think that the Dark Angels are the better way to go because your units are overwatching at full ballistic skill, which is pretty dang nice, and they have objective secured, and they get the free stuff if you have 2 demi companies. So that actually might be the better way to go. Now, if you want to take Grab Sense, then obviously you can't do that for Dark Angels, so that's not the way to go. But initially, when I thought that Space Marines is a better way to go with just versus the Green Tide or the Green Wing, for the tax squads for Dark Angels, I don't think I'm right on that. I think that they might be really good depending on how you want to run them. So I think the tax squads, I think the Raven Wing are still very viable and very, very competitive. Raven Wing almost so much, but I think Deathwing is pretty low on the list. But unfortunately, that's just the way the edition is too. But GW didn't help with their current list rules because not being able to come in turn 1 or having a chance to really hurts them, and you can't play them by themselves. Now, Ravenwing, people have commented or always complained about things like the Book of Names and Cursed Earth and stuff having 2-up rerollable Zinch saves for demons, and Seer Councils for Eldar having 2-up rerollable saves with Stealth Shrouded and Jinking and Fortune. This kind of brings a whole new definition to it because you think about this, it's not any psychic power to just get it, but you could have a lot of squads of Ravenwing or Black Knights that have a 2-up rerollable save due to the Dark Shroud. I think this is a pretty powerful set of formations and lists. And I think once people figure it out, I think that Dark Angels are going to be a force to be reckoned with, which I'm glad that they're good. I just, it's another one where I guess I would argue that having things like D-sites don't seem so broken when you've got an entire army that you can make up that could have a 2-up rerollable save. And then the D-sites are almost the only thing that can necessarily deal with them. But at the same token, they get into close combat and they charge the D-sites. They can't overwatch them because of the Dark Shroud. All of a sudden, that squad dies pretty quick. So, I know people kind of, they look at every codex as kind of a world unto itself, a little glass bottle. And I think you got to look at the world as a whole as far as all the codices. And I think as we're seeing some of these newer codices, I think you think, oh my God, how could it get, worse? But then when you look at it and you go, oh, hey, well, I guess this, this is the answer to the 2-up rerollable save against Eldar, especially bike squadrons, is going to devastate them. And they do have the, something that can deal with, Wraith Knights too. So, I think this is a good counter for Eldar. And so, that it'll help, and it'll be another shift in the meta. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm really not. I think it's just the way that the game is and the way GW wants. I mean, they want to sell models. They're a model company. They do a great job with their models. They look fantastic. They do as years go on. I mean, I've been playing since Rogue Trader, guys, and I still have a nostalgia for the old models, but when you compare them to the new ones, man, there's just no comparison. They're just so much better. They can just do so much more now. But in closing, I think this is a good codex. Except for the Deathwing, I don't think you're going to see that by itself as a whole. But I think it's a very viable codex, and I think once people realize it, I think it's going to be good. And who knows? We'll see with time. Rumor has it the Tau's getting a codex soon. Rumor has it that potentially Tzeentch Demonkin's coming out. If we see enough change where demons change enough, we may see a shift away from demons being so popular. I mean, people complain about Eldar and certain codices a lot. But you look at demons, which is funny to think because it's a 6th edition codex, but it's an earlier 6th edition codex, it's the third codex. It's the second oldest one now compared to Chaos Space Marines and Sisters of Battle. It's still a really viable codex, and it's an older, quote unquote, older codex. It's still really viable. It's still really good, especially with the 7th edition psychic powers, the malefic powers. It's a very viable list. Not even just demon spawning, but like the powers and the psychic powers that they have and the protection that they have. They're still really good. So I'm excited. We'll see what happens. I think Dark Angels is a good codex. I'm kind of happy about it for once because I think it got the short end of the stick the last couple editions. The last edition, the 6th edition, and the 4th edition codex, they weren't that great. And so I'm happy to see that they have a decent codex now, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully they're showing up on the tournament scene and they're finishing at the top tables, and we'll see Dark Angels being taken again. I don't want any codex to be though so good that that's the only thing that you see, but I like it that there's a good mix of good things that make it so it's not a guarantee that one codex is going to make it. So. This is Wargamer Sean. Hopefully you enjoyed these tactic talks or reviews. If you have any questions, you can always message me below or email me at wargamersean@yahoo.com. Until next time, keep on wargaming and take care, guys.
Goodbye. 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 Bye-bye. Goodbye. See ya. Bye for now. Bye for now. Goodbye. I like bottoms.